Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about economics, and the subject that we're going to be focusing on is I'm going to explain to you guys how our entire monetary system is a Ponzi scheme. Okay, and it was set up from its inception to be a Ponzi scheme. One of the important factors for making a Ponzi scheme work is that the people participating in it don't realize that it's a Ponzi scheme, okay? Because if people know what you're doing, if people realize, basically catch on to the scam, the system kind of breaks down because people don't want to participate in the scam anymore. So first, let's talk about what the Ponzi scheme is, right? Because some of you guys may not be familiar with it. So the general idea, there's different ways you can set this up, but the general idea is I tell you, give me $10, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna double your money, okay? But the work that you need to do, right, is that you need to bring in 2 more people or 3 more people, some number of people, to participate in my little system here, and those people are going to each give me $10. Okay, so now when you bring me those people, right? Let's say you bring me 3 people, they're each going to give me $10. I'm going to take a piece of their money, and I'm going to pay you back. So I'm doubling your money. So I'm actually holding up my end of the bargain, right? I told you I was going to double your money, and I am doubling your money. The work that you had to do was to bring me, let's say, 3 more people to participate in my scheme. Now, I'm going to tell those people the same thing, okay? You guys over here, you 3 guys, give me $10, and I promise to double your money if all you guys each bring me 3 more people. Now, of course, I'm dealing with all of these people individually, so one person doesn't know what I'm telling the other person. So none of these people know that I'm telling the same thing to each of them. Okay, and then this system continues. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm using the money from people that are coming into the system to basically pay off the previous generation, right? And then this system continues. Okay, so our monetary system works the same exact way. The way in this country, the way money is created, it's not necessarily created by the federal government. The way the money is created is that, let's say you want to buy a house, right? So you find a house, let's say you want to buy, or a car, or whatever, anything that you want to buy, and you go to the bank, okay, and you say, bank, I want to buy this house. And what the bank does is, let's say the house is $100,000. The bank basically electronically creates that money to lend to you. Okay, it's not. A lot of people think that the money that the bank gets to lend to you is people that have deposited into the bank. That's not it. There has to be a certain amount to kind of give the system some base, right? But that's not where the money So basically, like the bank can lend out, let's say 1,000 times whatever money is deposited, right? Right. So there is that factors there as kind of like a control, right? And that's the amount, the percentage that they can lend out, whether it's 1,000 times or 2,000 times. That's something that that's adjustable, right? Through banking rules. So what happens is from our perspective, right? We're trying to keep things a little simplified here. You go to the bank. You tell the bank, I need $100,000 for the house. The bank basically electronically creates this money, okay? And what they do is they use this house, right? The bank takes the deed to the house. So you get the house to live in it, but the bank takes the deed, right? And they're actually the true owner of the house. Only when the house is paid off, right, do you get title to that house free and clear, okay? So the bank technically owns the house, right? Because if you don't pay them back, they're gonna throw you out of your house and sell off your house, right? So the bank owns the house, and they give you the money to buy the house, right? You live in it, they own it, okay? Now you agree to pay back this money plus interest, okay? So the bank created $100,000 to give to you, right? And now you gotta pay them back that $100,000 plus interest. The key factor to this is that the bank created the $100,000 to give to you. They did not create the interest for you to pay back. Okay, so what you gotta do is you gotta go out there and basically you gotta hustle and try to find that interest to pay back to the bank. However, the interest for you to pay back the bank doesn't exist unless they also lend out money to somebody else. So what's happening is the bank is creating money for all its lenders, okay? But for across the board, they're not creating the interest, right? So ultimately, what it comes down to is that if you were to freeze the system and say, hey, no new people can come into the system to borrow money, okay? It would be absolutely impossible for people to pay back the loans, right? Because the principal plus the interest does not exist. The system depends on more people continually coming into the system, so that so more money is created. You do basically you do business with those other people. You get some of their money, right? And that's how you slowly pay back the principal plus interest. So that's why it's a Ponzi scheme, right? The system depends on more people continually coming into it. Now, the system is kind of self-adjusting because it can only grow at a certain pace, because in order to create this more money, you have to put up real assets, okay? So there's a limited number of assets that we have, or that we have access to, that we can put up as collateral, okay? So the way this system was originally designed was brilliant, okay? It was a system that basically could grow based on the population and the amount of commerce that's going on, and there was kind of an incentive built into it to continually grow the system, so people would have, would find that extra interest to pay back into the system. Great system, no problem with it. I can't think of a better system, okay? Now, people say, well, what about a gold-based system? Okay. Here's the thing. Who here has a gold mine? Do you have a gold mine? I don't have a gold mine. So if you have a system that's based on gold, right, or any other, any asset for that matter, the people that control the gold mines are going to control the monetary system. We do have an asset-based system. It's just not gold-based, right? It is basically, most of us put up real estate as collateral, okay? If you happen to have a gold mine, hey, no problem, man. Go into your gold mine, dig up some gold, bring that gold to the bank, and the bank will accept the gold as collateral and create money for you, just as easy as they would with your house or a car or anything else of value. So we do, in fact, have an asset-based system. It's just that since most of us don't own gold mines, that's not the asset we put up for collateral. The asset that we put up for collateral is the house, and the benefit of that is that, hey, we're actually living in it, while we're paying it off, right? So that's why it kind of works, okay, for most people. And that's why people choose to participate in this system. The only thing is that people don't realize the Ponzi scheme side of this, which is that in order for you to have interest to pay back to the bank, more people have to come into the system, right? If you freeze the system and they were to say, hey, nobody else is allowed to, if they create a law that says nobody is allowed to borrow money going forward, okay, you would never be able to pay back the principal plus the interest, right? Because the interest doesn't exist, and the system would collapse, okay? So same thing would happen with any Ponzi scheme. If you can't bring more people into the system collapses, okay? So I've got no problem with this whole monetary concept, and like I said, I don't have an alternative. It seems to be the best solution that kind of like slowly scales to a growing population, to a growing economy. It seems to work fine. The problem with the system here is that the government also participates in this system, okay? So what the government does is when they want to borrow money, okay, they don't put up real assets, okay? the government basically puts up as its collateral its ability to tax. They say, hey, listen, we're going to borrow from the same banking system, right? It doesn't matter if they're borrowing it from the Federal Reserve or through the smaller banks. It's all one system. Okay? It's one monetary system. All the banks are doing the same thing. It's one system. Okay, so let's just say it's one centralized bank for that matter. Okay, so the problem here is that the government goes into the same banking system. They don't have to put up any real collateral. All they're saying is, hey, we're going to pay back because we have the ability to tax. Okay. So they're able to create money based on that. So you and I, we create more money by putting up assets, and there's a limit as to how much money we can create because there's a limit to the amount of assets that we have access to. Okay, but the government does not have that limitation. So initially, when this system was set up, all the way up into the 1980s, I think, it was working fine because nobody was really caught on to the Ponzi scheme side of this. When the government was borrowing money, they were doing it on a relatively small scale, and people actually believed that the government was going to pay back this money. Okay, and it was being done on a small enough scale that it was feasible that they could actually raise enough tax money to pay it back. Okay, that was realistic. Okay, we're at the point now where the government, when they borrow money, they're borrowing trillions of dollars every time. $1 trillion. Okay, so here's the thing: people don't realize what the number trillion means. People have no idea how big of a number is. If I tell you 1,000,000 seconds, 1,000,000 seconds is about a month. Okay. If I tell you 1 billion seconds, okay, 1 billion seconds is 31 years. Big jump, right? We went from a month to 31 years, right? From the number million seconds to the number billion seconds, okay? When we go up to 1 trillion seconds, okay, 1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years. 31,000 years, right? Start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. It would take you a trillion. It would take you 31,000 years to count up to the number 1 trillion. So the number trillion is not a realistic number. It's not a realistic number unless you're talking about molecules or grains of sand. And I think there's only something like 7 trillion grains of sand on the entire Earth. Okay, so the number trillion, stars, right? If you're talking about stars, you can talk about trillions. But if you're talking about anything other than that, the number of trillion is a number that should never be used. Okay, it's an unimaginable number. Okay, 1 trillion seconds, 31,000 years. So when we're at the point that the government every year they're borrowing like $3 trillion, $4 trillion. Every year, it is obvious to anybody that understands what the number trillion means is that they're not really borrowing money, right? Because there's nobody to borrow that amount of money from. There's no possible way that you can even raise enough tax money to pay that back. It's an unimaginably big number, okay? So at this point, everybody has caught on to the Ponzi scheme, right? In order for these, and here's the thing: initially, when the system was set up, the government was a small player. It was a small component of this, okay? Because now they borrowed so much money. I think what, $30 trillion, whatever, $40 trillion. I have no idea what they're up to at this point. Okay, it doesn't even matter because they're not real numbers. Okay, $100 trillion makes no difference. It's just electronic money in the computer. It's just these are numbers that are just compounded in the computer. What all this is, right? All this means to us now. It's obvious that the government is electronically printing money. The real effect of this is that they are diluting our existing money. Okay, when the government says that they're going to borrow money, all they're saying is that they're going to electronically print money. They can't even realistically print it because there's just not enough paper anywhere in the universe to actually print it. Okay, so there aren't enough trees to print that amount of money. Okay, anywhere like on the planet or in the universe, there's just not enough trees to print that type of money. So it is obvious to us that they're electronically creating it, and the real effect of this is they're diluting our money. And anytime the government decreases the buying value of your money through dilution, all they're doing is taxing you. Okay, so it makes no difference if the government says we're going to print, let's say, $1 trillion, all right, or they say we're going to raise your taxes by some large percentage. Okay, that's pretty much the same thing. Okay, they're decreasing the buying value of your money. So where we're at now is everybody has caught on to this. Everybody in the world has caught on to this. And here's the thing: there's more U.S. dollars outside the United States than inside the United States. In fact, there's more U.S. dollars probably just in one country, just in China probably. And then if you take the entire world, I'm just guessing, but there might be, I don't know, 10 to 20 times more U.S. dollars in the rest of the world versus inside the United States. So what the government is doing when they're borrowing or printing money, they're in effect taxing the entire world, right? Because they're decreasing everybody's buying power around the world. Okay, and the world's caught on to this. Okay, so you better believe that the entire world is looking for a way to get out of this system that they're kind of locked into. The problem is that they don't quite have an alternative. But now you guys understand how the United States is able to have all these aircraft carriers. Why can't any other country do it? Because most other countries, the only way they can build these things is to only tax their own people. The United States taxes the entire world through money dilution. Okay, that's how we're able to have all these these multi-billion-dollar aircraft carriers and nuclear submarines and all that stuff. Now, the problem that I have with the system is, fine, if that's how you're going to tax us, if it's going to be through money dilution, then so be it. You don't need to have all these other taxes on top of that. You don't need the income taxes, the death taxes, you don't need all these other taxes. If that's going to be the way you're going to tax us, then do just that, right? You don't need to have all these additional taxes. So I just want to share that with you guys. Let me know what you guys think. If you've already noticed, if it's something new to you, drop some comments below, and I will talk to you guys soon.